Is it normal to be jealous of your partner's ex? You can love and trust your partner, but when they reconnect with somebody that they once were in a relationship with, it can bring up some hurt feelings or some jealousy. So, in today's video, you're going to learn whether it is normal to be jealous of your partner's ex and what steps you can take to work through those feelings so that both of you feel okay. Let's talk about the recent post in the Facebook group that addresses the topic of hurt feelings or jealousy with an ex. My live-in boyfriend has an ex-girlfriend that will not totally go away. She still texts or calls him every so often, and she has even asked him to hang out. My boyfriend told her he's in a serious committed relationship and getting together is not appropriate, but she still holds a flame for him, and we both know it. I trust my boyfriend 100%, and he's very respectful of me and our relationship. He's reassured me that he has no interest in her at all. He wants to stay acquainted with her because she helped him through one of the most difficult times of his life. But I just want her to go away. Every time he tells me she texted, it bugs me. Why can't I shake it? Well, one of the reasons that it's hard to shake this is that even if your ex has told you that he loves you and he has no feelings for his ex, he had a relationship with her and feelings come up. You might wonder about the love that they shared, and that's normal. I think most of us wonder what it was like for a partner that we're with now when they were with somebody else. Where you get into some trouble is when you start to obsess over these jealous thoughts, and that could result in problems with your relationship. So, I have identified two types of jealousy: rational jealousy and irrational jealousy. And let's discuss the differences. Irrational jealousy looks like a few things. So, the first question you want to ask yourself is, where does the jealousy stem from? When you feel jealousy, really get into your body, get into your sensations, and really feel into when was the first time that you felt this way? Is it when you were a young child? Is it in a past dating experience? Did you have other jealous or abandonment feelings that somebody was going to leave you? Those feelings of abandonment are hardwired from our past. And it's important to distinguish between what you're feeling now in this relationship and what you felt when you were younger. Your past is going to unconsciously keep coming up and sabotaging what you have in the present until you do some of the deeper work with a therapist or a coach to identify and tame your emotional triggers. This is how you can differentiate between something that happened a long time ago and something that's happening or not happening now. I remember with my daughter when she was dating a guy who had been cheated on multiple times, and he was always, always jealous of her and her relationships with any boy. And she was not sexual with them. She had no romantic interest in them. And she finally told them, I am not the person who cheated on you. And if you keep accusing me and getting mad at me and trying to control me, I will walk away. You're pushing me away. So that's an irrational jealousy that stems from a rational place. It stems from something else, but it may not be something that's happening right now that is worth getting concerned about. So that's the irrational thoughts are why these things stick in us and it's hard to shake them. Another way we have irrational jealousy is about the beginning of our relationship and how it began. So we all start our relationships in different ways. And sometimes when you begin a relationship, one of the partners was already in a committed relationship and then they met you. And so if that happened, maybe he was separated, maybe he wasn't even thinking of getting separated and he met you and decided to leave his wife. If he left a relationship for you and you started your relationship with somebody else in the picture, there can be an unconscious fear that your partner is going to leave you for someone else. So this is another irrational thought because your relationship started a certain way. Now, of course, there are people who leave a relationship to start a relationship and they cheat on the ex and then they end up cheating and cheating and cheating, and that's a whole other discussion. So that's not irrational, that's actually rational that there often are those patterns. But you don't know until you know. And the third thing in the irrational category is, are you getting the feeling that he is emotionally involved with an ex? It may be true that he is, but it also could be your own insecurity that makes you think there might be romantic feelings. Not all contact with an ex is a warning sign that there's a betrayal. So it's important to have conversations to learn more about what it is for him. Now, there are people who have contact with an ex because they have children with an ex or they have a dog with an ex. There are ties that still bond you. If that's true, then you are going to be with somebody who still has ties with an ex. The type of tie that person has is what matters. So some people have trouble drawing boundaries. Some people have trouble saying no because they don't want to be mean. And in the case of this question that I read earlier today from our group, from our Facebook group, there was a tie of this woman had helped him through a difficult time in his life. And so he feels this pull that he can't say no. But if he's saying yes to her and hurting you, then that's a conversation that needs to be had. So let's talk about rational jealousy. If you have seen signs that the guy that you're with is spending a lot of time with an ex or another woman and he's pulling away, maybe he's confiding in her emotionally and not you, he's turning away from you and towards her, then this is a rational reason to be concerned. And it's something that you need to explore further and determine what is really happening. No matter what the cause of your jealousy is, the most important thing is to talk about it with your partner. And don't just accuse, but approach with an open mind and with curiosity. Make sure that you are calm and centered before you begin. The way to do that is to find a way to breathe through, center yourself, take a walk, whatever you need to do, talk it out with a friend, with a therapist, with a coach, and get clarity. And then start with the positives. Tell him that you love him. If you do trust him, tell him you trust him, that you want to have a conversation to get closer to him. And then tell him how you feel about this relationship that he has with the ex and what it feels like to you. You can't know what it feels like to him. Tell him what it feels like and why you feel that way. And ask him what's in it for him. Why does he have this relationship? Why does he continue to have this relationship? And based on the way he responds, you can decide what to do next. Maybe you want to make a request that he end things with her because, like in this case, he told you that she's still into him. It's obvious. So it's just perpetuating something that is not healthy in your relationship. And he's just afraid to say no and put a boundary down. Maybe he needs your support in setting a boundary, or maybe he needs to go see a therapist to learn how to set better boundaries because that affects your relationship with him too. Or maybe their relationship is really no concern to you because they've both moved on to other relationships and they're just keeping up as old friends, or like I said before, if they have kids or a dog. I know plenty of people who have relationships with their exes and it's completely platonic and it works for both parties. But that's the operating word, is it has to work for both parties. Whatever the reason for your jealousy, you need to process it, make sure you understand where it's coming from, whether it's rational or irrational. Whether, if it's irrational, that may just be something you need to process and not talk about with him. But if it's rational, then you're going to want to talk about it with him. And sometimes with the irrational thoughts, you also want to say, hey, listen, I'm making up a story and I just want to know if it's true. So you need to Also, figure out your plan of action that you can both agree on. Most of the time, jealousy over an ex can be worked out, it can be overcome. And by having these conversations, these intimate, vulnerable conversations, you're going to deepen the relationship that you have. Or if it's not a good relationship, you will find out. And it's always good to have that information sooner rather than later.